All right, number one, all of the following are good ways to prepare for paying college, except, okay, so don't take out loans. Now you can, you just have to have a plan in place, right? All right, after completing the FAFSA, what will you receive that you'll need to advance through the financial aid process? Okay, so the SAR or the student aid report. Okay, questions on those two. Which formula is used to calculate the net price of college? Sticker minus grants slash loans equals net, right? All right, explains what happens when your loan is in forbearance. Okay, interest is added, but what's going on?
It's being,
Are you making payments?
yes.
No. Okay, so no payments, but interest is being added, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Deferment.
That's when you're making payments.
Oh, defer is when no interest is added and you're not making payments. Yeah. It's just kind of like it's a pause in the system. Okay. You got to know the difference between those two on the quiz. Okay. They're worded really weird. Slow down and read the question. Okay. What should you accept first? Like when you're getting your financial aid, what should you accept first?
Any small grants or scholarships.
Okay.
No matter how much it is, like use it for something else.
Okay. What about what is the difference between indirect cost? What's the difference between indirect cost and direct cost?
Indirect costs are costs like things that are not on your bill, like uh transportation.
Okay.
Textbook fees, technology fees,
Okay.
stuff like that. While direct costs are in like it's put in your what is it called? It's like
It's your tuition, right?
Yeah.
Direct cost is what you owe directly to the college, right? Okay. Indirect, we have more influence on, right?
Yeah, you can see fees.
Okay. That's it. All right. Those are your questions. Okay. Oh, last one. On your student aid report, that's your SAR, right? What would not be on your student aid report? Would the net price be on your student aid report of like how much it's going to cost for school? Yeah. Okay. What about types of financial aid? So that's like loans, grants, scholarships, all that. Okay. And then what about cost of attendance? Would that be on there? Still would be on there because that's part of that net price, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. What about your class schedule? Would that be on there?
Oh no.
Okay. That's it. Questions? Nothing tricky. Okay. This one most people do pretty well on. Okay. Anything else? I think we're good. Okay. Let's go ahead and knock this quiz out. It shouldn't take you very long. All right. A lot of people don't know and realize that some jobs you only need like an associate's degree, which is like half the amount of time that you actually would have to spend in school. So an associate degree is a great option for students who want to pursue post-secondary education, but not sure if they want a 4-year degree, if it's right for them. So describe how an associate degree compares to a bachelor's degree and a high school diploma. So an associate degree is about 60 credit hours. Okay. A bachelor's is 120, so 180. Okay. And it depends on your bachelor's. Okay. An associate degree, you can go and be a paramedic. You can go and be an auto mechanic. You can go be a plumber. I do want to keep in mind some of those jobs, you just need a certification, like you have to take like a training course, whatever, and then you can go be those things. However, you can make more money if you have the associate's degree. Okay. So the associate degree normally focuses on a specific skill. Okay. And there's not always an associate's degree that's offered in every course or every content. Okay. The generation before me keeps complaining that all of you young people don't know trades and the trades are kind of dying out, which either means that we have to rely on robots to do the job or um, everybody's just gonna have issues with their house or their car, or nobody's gonna come save you because nobody wants to work a blue collar job. These are not bad jobs. These actually pay pretty well. Um, and you can get into it very, very, very quickly. Okay. All right. Ismadel. Probably like so you don't get trouble. All right. So what are the 5 different types of schools? Okay, we've talked about trade school. We've talked about community college. We've talked about junior colleges. These are like your D3 schools. Okay. We've talked about tech colleges. And then there's also stuff called affiliated colleges. Okay. So what are 3 reasons why somebody would want to earn an associate degree? Well, we just talked about one, getting paid more, then learning a trade, or trying out a major or career. So if you get an associate's degree, it's kind of like you don't have a whole lot invested, which is pretty nice. You only lose about 2 years if you don't like that major anymore. So get paid more, learn a trade, and trying out a major. Nope. Yep. Um, so for instance, the fiance went and got an associate's degree, and then he became a certified firefighter, and then he became a paramedic. Because he has the associate's degree, he makes about $5,000 to $7,000 more than the guys who just went through basically like the training that they did. Like he still had to go through all of the training and all that kind of stuff, but he has a degree in emergency medical services that he gets paid more because of that. I don't know. His line of work is a little different. But like in teaching, if I go get a master's, I make more money, right? I have to have a bachelor's for my job. So it just kind of depends on what job you want to do. Yeah. He also, because he has a associate and a bachelor's, he now can be a officer of like in the like Atlanta Fire and Rescue is where he worked. And so he could be an officer. And so again, he could move up in rank and so he can get paid more. So Again, it depends on what job you're doing. Not really sure how auto mechanics work, but I'm sure there's something for it. If you're interested in pursuing a specific technical or vocational career, then you may benefit from attending a trade school that teaches you those skills with hands-on training. What's the purpose of attending a trade school? What's the purpose of attending trade school? Okay, so learn the skill, right? So if you want to be an electrician, you got to learn how to wire a motherboard. I don't know. You got to be able to do stuff. Okay. All right. Why is it important to think about earning potential and employment growth rate when thinking about a trade to pursue? What is earning potential? What does those words mean? How much you can make. So y'all remember like from physics where it was like potential energy, same concept, how much you could potentially make, right? What about employment growth rate? What does that mean? Okay, so like, is there an actual market for this job? Okay, so why is it important to think about earning potential and employment growth rate when thinking about a trade to pursue? It would really suck to go to school and then become like an electrician and then not make any money, right? Like it would suck to like waste your time and then not make money. So you want to make sure you will profit in the end. So you want to also make sure that there's a job for you in the end, right? What should you be aware of when looking at for-profit trade schools? What should you be aware of when you're looking at for-profit trade schools? So what does for-profit mean? Like they're making money off of you. Like you go to their school, they're making money off of you. And they can use their funds for whatever they want to do, right? So you want to make sure that you're careful because they can generate revenue that is used for non-educational purposes. Non-educational purposes. Hey, bud. Okay. So what I mean by that is, so what I mean by that is that they will have you come to their school, and let's say Walton EMC owns a college, right? So when you go to that school, they can use that money to go invest into their business. They don't necessarily have to use it for your education purposes. Okay. All right. So go ahead and take a moment, take out your laptop. I want you to figure out the pros and cons of going to vocational trade school. We're only gonna take about 5 minutes on this, so it's not super bad. So you're gonna type this address into your website browser, okay? And go ahead and give me the pros and cons to vocational trade school. Okay, we're gonna take 5 minutes to do this, so do it very, 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 very quickly. Okay, all right, and go. All right, so the pros. Hopefully you saw that learning skills would be great. Probably fix your own car, fix your own plumbing. It's much faster. It's a lot faster to go ahead and get into the work field. And there's a lower cost. Most of your certifications for these kinds of things are a lot cheaper. Okay, cons, there's no other opportunities. So, like when you go and you become an electrician, like that's what you're gonna be. Okay. Health issues. A lot of people in these job fields have like arthritis, bad backs, bad knees, whatever, because the wear and tear on their body. And then there's a varying amount in how much they make. So some of them make a lot of money and some of them make okay money. Yeah. it again just it kind of depends on where do you live, what's the necessity, and what does the job market actually look like. Okay. When Josh was living out in Sumter County, he wasn't making as much as he was making in Atlanta. So that's why he actually moved up here. Okay. So depending on where you live, um, you can make more money. All right. Now we're going to talk about apprenticeships and internships. There is a difference. They sound very similar. There are several options for people who are looking for to get on the job training in a field that they're interested in. One option is apprenticeships, a paid work-based training program that allows you to earn a certificate or qualification. What are three ways in which apprenticeships differ from other training programs? And you can look in here. This kind of does it for you. But the first one is that you are paid. So with internships, you're normally not paid. Okay. And then you potentially have a job after graduation. After graduation. Okay. And then the last one is it focuses on skills. So apprenticeships are normally done by like trade school type things. Okay. Which industry offers the most apprenticeships? Do we know? This is going to be construction. Very good. Okay. On number three, it says explain what the blue collar bias is towards apprenticeships in the US and how it differs from other countries. What do people think about blue collar jobs? They make no money. What else? They don't want to do it. Close. So oftentimes people assume, okay, that blue collar jobs, most of the time, these are people who couldn't go to school, aren't smart enough to get a better job, or they don't pay that much. Okay, so in other countries, though, those are the people who are viewed as like the heroes. So, um, so in the U.S., many people think poorly of these jobs. You know, whenever you think of like cartoons and they portray like a plumber, he's always got his like pants too low just a little bit. He's not very bright, that kind of thing. No, that's completely not the case because I don't know if you've ever talked to a plumber, but they've got it like they know their stuff. I can't fix a toilet. It's a whole thing. Okay. Actually, I can, but it's okay. All right. Name three ways that internships can help students. One way is that they can view the job. So, like, if you want to become a lawyer, you can kind of like sit there and actually watch the person do the job. It's short term. So, like, let's say you hate this, you can change your mind. And then the last one is to gain skills. All right, let's start talking about how to get paid. Yay. Almost done with the notes today. Yay. Okay, so we're going to talk about calculating annual income. Let's say Juan decides to enlist in the Air Force after high school. He receives a $10,000 signing bonus Use this table to calculate his basic pay, which depends on his rank and pay grade and years of service. During his first year, he'll be living on base, so he does not need any special allowances or incentives. He's going to start at E1 and then be promoted to E2 after basic training. Calculate Juan's first year's annual income. A lot of jobs do this. They start you at a base pay, and then because of your years of service, you get a bonus. So when I hit year 10, my pay is going to go up a lot more than what it is currently. Okay, so this is talking about military. So his signing bonus was 10,000. Okay, so he automatically just gets 10,000, no questions asked. He just has it. He just needs to not quit his job. Okay, the next part, looking at E1 right here, and he's 2 years or less. So we're going to use this number right there. Okay, so we're going to say 10,000 plus 1,917.60. Yeah. Okay, so when we add these together, we're going to get 20, plus is there anything else that we want to add on to this? No? During his first year, he's going to be living on base. He doesn't need any special allowances or incentives. He starts at E1, but he's going to be promoted to E2 after basic training. So how long is he going to be at this rate? So for 2 years, why do you say that? Okay, but he's going to go to E2 after his basic training. Good question. How long is basic training? Well, one, it kind of depends on which field you're going into. For Army, it's about 2 months. Okay, so for the year, he would get paid this amount for 2 months, and then he would be bumped up to that E2, which is going to be this amount for 10 months. Because how many months do we have in a year? Okay, so take a moment. All right, so how much would he be making? It's going to be about 35,327.20. Good. Okay. You're paid every month when you're on this salary. Okay. All right, Quentin decides to get an associate's degree to become an X-ray technician. Once he completes his degree, he gets a job making $18.86 per hour. Calculate Quentin's annual income based on him working 36 hours per week. He also gets 1 week's paid vacation. Okay, so on this one, this is a little tricky because there's a lot of things going on. He makes $18.86 per hour. How many hours does he work in a week? Okay, so that's going to be $678.96 per week. Now, how many weeks in a year are there? 52. So we're going to take that 678.96 and we're going to multiply it by 52. And that's going to be 35,305.90. Scenario 3 is very, 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 very common. So Kevin has just finished his vocational training to become a car mechanic. He earns an hourly wage of $25 and works 40 hours per week. He also regularly works 5 hours of overtime per week at 1.5 times the regular wage. So that's called time and a half. Okay. Because of his good performance, he received an annual bonus of $5,000. Calculate Kevin's annual income. Okay, so first thing, we want to figure out what he normally makes. So he makes $25 per hour for 40 hours per week. So that's going to be $1,000 per week, right? And he works 5 hours of overtime. So how much does he make in an overtime in an hour? Well, it's time and a half. So 25 times 1.5 gives me 37.5. And he does that for 5 hours. And that's going to give us 187.5. So we're going to add those two together. And this is how much he makes per week, right? Now we want to find for a whole year. Okay, so we're going to multiply this guy. We're going to multiply this guy by 52. And that's going to give me 61,750. Plus, he's got a bonus of 5,000. So we're going to add that bonus onto here. And that's going to give me 66,750. Can you try scenario 4? On this one, Tracy is working through a school at a local radio station as a part-time intern. She makes $15 an hour and works 20 hours per week. Calculate her annual income. So you're going to do 15 times 20, and then you're going to multiply that by 52, right? And that's going to give us, say it again. Ta-da. Cool. Questions? All right. I think this is probably the most important thing that you probably will learn in my class, personally. So let's go ahead and talk about it so that we can get a little bit of practice on it, because it does take a little bit of time to understand. Okay. We're going to knock some of this out. All right, so when looking at career salaries, repaying student loans and creating financial budgets is common practice to evaluate sums on a monthly basis. To calculate monthly payments, we use the monthly payment formula. Okay, so this is very similar to what you saw in Algebra 1. In Algebra 1, you saw this formula. So real similar, same setup, just a little different. Okay, now, yes, we recognize it, right? Now you're looking at a 2015 Honda Civic C. This is from a few years ago. All right. Really quick. I didn't realize before I bought my car how much actually goes into purchasing a car. It's not just the sticker price. This car costs $24,950. Look at how much you're going to spend by the time you walk out the door. That's an extra $5,000, right? So you've got to make sure that you pay attention to what you're buying. Okay. So let's say that you talk them down to 27,000 and you make a $3,000 down payment and finance the rest at 6.5% APR for 5 years. Do y'all know what APR stands for? Annual percentage rate. Annual, you need to know this. Annual percentage rate. A lot of people ignore the APR. That's how much extra money you're going to have to pay on top of whatever you're purchasing. Okay, just like in Unit 1, we can use this formula to go ahead and type it into Desmos. So what I want you to do is open Desmos, and I want you to type this formula exactly how you see it with all those letters. Okay, go ahead and take a moment. You're typing it into Desmos. Make sure that you use your parentheses. All right, so yours should look slightly like mine. All right, we good? Okay, so let's talk about the other part. So, how much are you going to be financing? Well, how much are you putting down? 3,000. That means that you're going to take that 27,000 and subtract 3,000. You're going to be financing 24,000. Okay, so when you make a down payment, you obviously don't have to pay that again. Okay. What is 6.5% as a decimal? Move this decimal place over twice, and that's going to give me 0.065. And then how many months are in a year? Or I'm sorry, in 5 years. Well, what's 5 times 12? 60. There's 60 months in 5 years. Okay, so now we're going to take all that information and we're going to go plug it in. So go back to your Desmos. For your p-value, you're going to put 24,000. For your r, you're going to put 0.065. For your in, you're going to put 12 because it's monthly. And then for your time, it's 5 years. Okay, type it in. Now, I'm not going to ever ask you to do this by hand. You need to make sure that you're careful though in Desmos. So you should have gotten $469.59. Okay, if you didn't get that, check how you type this in. Notice how I put a bunch of parentheses in the top, right? Okay, so what I want you to do is go ahead and try number 8. Identify all these things and then go ahead and calculate. Okay? When you plug all that in, you should have plugged in 75,000 and then that 0.095, 4 years and 12. So 7,500, 0.075, 95, 12, and then 4 years. So your monthly payment would be $188.42, right? Okay, so $188.42. That's how much you would be paying monthly. All right, you ready for the math? This blew my mind. Let's say that you made all those payments. Let's say that you took $188.42 and you paid that for 12 months for 4 years. So going back into my calculator, I'm going to type 188.42 times 12 times 4. Look at the amount that I just got. That's $9,044.16. How much money did you borrow initially? So after 4 years, you went from $7,500 being borrowed to now you've paid $9,000. So if you subtract those two numbers, this is how much money you spent in just interest. Okay, interest is If you said, hey, Coach Taylor, can I borrow $1? I'd be like, yeah, sure. But you've got to pay me back for all the time that I've waited for you to pay me back. Okay. So every day you owe me an extra penny. Okay. Let's say you let a whole year go by. How much money did you just add? Okay. On top of the dollar that you owe me, right? So you really owe me $4.65 instead of just $1. Okay. So it can add up pretty quick. Okay. All right. So determine the actual amount actually paid to the bank. So what you actually paid to the bank was 9,400, I'm sorry, 44.16. This is how much you owed to the bank. The amount of interest was what we subtracted. Okay, so that's going to be that 1,544.16. So 1,544.16. So there's a difference between how much you paid in total versus how much interest you've actually paid. Okay. So it matters. It really does. Okay. House payments actually work the exact same way, except banks give you a 15-year loan or a 30-year loan. A 30-year loan, your house payments are going to be smaller. A 15-year loan, you'll be paid off faster, and then you'll actually own the home. Okay. So what I want you to do is go ahead and try this problem. So you're taking out 85,000, 7.1%. We're doing it for 30 years on a monthly basis. Okay. Go ahead and try that one. All right. So you try 9. But you will make $571.23 payments each month. Watch what happens when I make this into a 15-year. It went up about $200. Okay. But I will own the home in half the amount of time. Okay. So sometimes it's beneficial, but if you can't afford that, you can't afford that. I'm going to be honest. You don't just borrow $85,000 for a house. Okay. It's a lot more like 200, 300,000. Okay. So how much are you actually going to pay to the bank? That would be, if we were doing it for a 30-year loan, you would take 571.23. We're going to do it for 12 months for 30 years. This is how much you paid to the bank. And so when you do that, that's going to give you $205,642.80. That's crazy. You only borrowed $85,000. Yeah. Now, the interest that you're going to look at is you're going to take that number and subtract what you originally borrowed. You paid $120,000 in interest. $120,000 in interest. Okay. Y'all aren't blown by that. Like, that's crazy, right? So when you make these decisions, you've got to make sure that you look at what is the ultimate outcome. I'll teach you a little bit later how to like make this so you don't pay as much interest. But we'll talk about that a little bit later when we start buying houses. Units. Okay. Don't forget, we got Pride today. So go ahead and head that way.